This video, I'm going to smoke pork shoulders, but first I need to season the pork shoulders and leave them in the refrigerator for a few hours. Then what I'm going to do is smoke them for anywhere from 4 to 5 hours, just to put some smoke on them at a low temperature, and then I will transfer them to a roaster oven where they will do their thing overnight. All right, a couple of things. A, these are not stolen milk crates, these are store-bought. And B, I have these 12-quart totes to season my meat. And I like the 12-quart totes. They're not really totes, I don't even know what they're called. They're for cooking and kitchen. I got them at a restaurant depot. But instead of a big lug, I like these smaller because I can stack them in my refrigerator down in my basement. The other thing to note is for my rub, it is 1 part coffee to 2 parts pork barbecue rub. And I use that both with the pork as well as the beef. I do like the coffee in the rub. It adds a dimension. And I learned that trick from a barbecue chef in Louisville who I believe owns and operates the franchise of the Guy Fieri Smokehouse. And his barbecue, my goodness, was some of the best barbecue I've ever had. And he was so gracious to give my wife and I a tour of the facility and his smoker, and then he actually went on the line and gloved up and served us. And when I went back and said to him, this is the best barbecue I've had in as long as I can remember, and he looked at me and smiled and he said, use coffee in your rub. And I then asked him how much, and he said, you'll know. So I just threw something out there, 1 part coffee, 2 parts barbecue rub, and it's worked for me. I'm sure I could do a little more, a little less. I'm not a coffee drinker, don't like the taste of coffee. I don't taste the coffee in the finished product. So these are going to go into the refrigerator for the bulk of the day. And then later in the afternoon, I'm going to take them out, throw them on the pellet smoker, run them at a low temperature at 180. I just want to put smoke on them. And then what I'm going to do at the end of the evening, end of the smoke, I will throw them into a roaster oven and set it at 200 for the overnight and go do something more useful like sleep. All right, our shoulders have rested in the refrigerator with the rub. So I'm going to go onto the smoker. A couple of mods I have on my Yoder smoker is I have the Don Godke Downdraft, which is simply amazing. And I also put a little hat, a lid on top of my smokestack so rain doesn't go down in and go into my drip bucket. Everything works great. I've had a number of smokes with both of these modifications and everything is great. I'm going to place the shoulders on the grill, fat cap up, so that the heat will come around and convect and melt that, well, fat is flavor, so melt that flavor down into the meat. I'm not really cooking with the smoker, I'm adding smoke. I'm going to go for likely 5 hours, then I'm going to transfer into a roaster oven at 200 degrees, let them braise overnight with a little Dr. Pepper, and tomorrow morning the meat will just fall apart and all or most of the fat will be rendered. One last thing, I'm going to do a 180 cook on the pellet smoker. I find that at 180 I get I guess for me, the most optimal or optimum smoke because I like my protein very, very smoky. All right, we're out of the smoker. Went a little bit longer, went 7 hours instead of the 6 hours that I thought we were gonna do. So now we're gonna go into the roaster oven at 200 degrees and give it 12 hours of low and slow with Dr. Pepper. And all of the fat will be rendered. It will be delicious, smoky, and tender. The overnight slow braise is done. Probably somewhere between 11 and 12 hours, actually. And one of the nice things, now you can do the same thing in a crock pot. The reason I use the roaster oven is because it's just bigger. I also like the temperature control on the roaster oven. I can dial it up to 200 for the overnight, and then after I reach my temperature, which I got to about 203, I can dial it down to around 150 to keep it warm. But what I'll do now is just go ahead and unplug it. And then my test is, can I pull it apart with a pair of tongs? And I absolutely can. And it's just amazing. Very little fat, if any left. All the fat is rendered down into the roaster oven. So the next thing I'll do, I'll peel some of that fat away. Fat is flavor though. Is I take a container and portion it out into 1 pound portions, and then throw it into a vacuum sealer and freeze it. Once it's frozen, I reconstitute it in warm water, and I usually use a sous vide bath, but you can do it in a pot of warm water on the stove. But that's one of the many reasons I like the sous vide. And I have a pound of delicious pulled pork, and I'll get all of these placed into the bags and seal them up, mark them up, and throw them in the freezer. All right, there we have it. 19 pounds of pork shoulder, 2 shoulders, yielded 11 pounds of finished meat. And as you can see in the vacuum seal bags, there's a lot of juice in there, which is flavor. And I actually switched up to a bigger bag because I want to be able to write notes on here. I'll put the date on it, what it is. And I've had things from my freezer that were well over, vacuum sealed, that were well over 2 years old. Take them out, put them in 100 to 110 degree water bath, let them come up to temperature, cut them open, and the meat tastes like it just came off of the smoker. Until next time.